Our big story, it is election night in Newberg. After months of buildup and months of tension, after all the protests and the threats of lawsuits, voters have until 8 p.m. tonight to decide whether to recall two members of the Newberg School Board, Brian Shannon and Chair Dave Brown, two of the board's conservative members who led the call to ban political symbols in schools, a ban that at first targeted Black Lives Matter and pride flags, and a ban that the superintendent refused to enforce. He was later fired without cause. Cut to today. Now, I spent the day in Newberg, and I can tell you, just based on the number of ballots we saw cast and the number of campaign signs on display, people there are not taking this decision lightly. Seriously, you can see the campaign signs were pretty much everywhere. But let's drill down on data. Here's a map showing the Newberg school district boundaries. The vast majority of that district is in Yamhill County. In fact, Yamhill County turnout is mostly in that county. Again, the majority of registered voters within the district are in Yamhill, aka the people who have a say in tonight's recall. 25,000 of them roughly in Yamhill County. I'm going to drill down on that. There are also about 600 in Washington County, 300 in Clackamas County. All three counties will be reporting results tonight independently. But to keep this simple, let's zero in on the big kahuna. I got made fun of for writing that line, but whatever. Yamhill County, as of 5:30 tonight, about half an hour ago, around 13,478 people had cast their ballots in this recall election. That is a turnout of 53.4% so far. For reference, in the 2020 presidential race, 80% of eligible voters in Yamhill County turned out. In last year's November election, an off year, the turnout was 27%. That's the typical number for off years. So again, for an election like this, that's a really high turnout. Now, I talked to several voters today. All of them felt strongly about this race and about making their voices heard. Two of them felt comfortable talking on camera as long as they didn't have to specifically say how they voted.
Well, there are all sorts of signs out, pro and con, all over the town. So I would think that yeah, people are going to be out there. The education, the school is for education for our children. And that's what we pay the teachers for, and politics belong in the government.
I was rather shocked to hear that our superintendent of schools had been fired for no cause, and that things like that bother me because I thought personally he's done a good job. And I think that if you're going to fire somebody, that you should at least be able to document why. So.
Are a lot of people talking about this election in town? Like, are a lot of people aware of it, or do you hear people talking about it?
Oh, yes. People are knocking on my door constantly about this. I mean, like, nightly. And I just think kids need to not be bothered by political stuff at this time.
We heard that a lot. A lot of adults don't like that this is being shouldered by kids in these schools, but nevertheless, here we are. Now, loyal viewers of this show know we've been covering this election and this campaign push for months. And for a long time, the campaign to recall Brian Shannon and Dave Brown was by far the most vocal facet of all of this. But last week, that changed. Dave Brown agreed to speak to our producer, Ashley Koch, and here's some of that conversation.
It just came out as simple as that, politics in the classroom. And they are political and they are adult driven, and our kids are being used in a situation that can't happen, not in public schools. And we made that decision solely based on politics, because if we keep going down this road, if we lose this recall, then you're going to have to see every flag in every classroom, and that means every flag from both sides of the spectrum, and that's not what kids need. That's not what our schools need.
Now, we want to note we reached out to Dave Brown and Brian Shannon today to get their take on this sizable turnout in this recall race and how they're feeling going into tonight. And for that matter, we also reached out to the entire Newberg School Board. No response right now from any of those parties. We did, though, get a response from the campaign leading the recall effort. Kristen Stoller owns a dance studio in downtown Newberg. That is kind of the mural on her business's front window right now. It reads, "From the darkest dark comes the brightest light. Now, Stoller is thrilled about the high turnout, but to be honest, she doesn't know if it's a good sign for the recall campaign or for the opposition.
You know, we can't tell because we've had so many people cross party lines. You know, there are a lot of different reasons somebody can vote yes, and it was not an exclusive party relation, you know, really. So we, of course, are hopeful. But I personally have making no assumptions. I have spoken to, heard from many students, many parents too. We're so thankful for those quiet symbols of safety and inclusion throughout the school, throughout the community, you know, businesses, et cetera, that just sort of say, it's good, you're okay here. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, not being seen or loved in this space.
All right, so one final note on this. Polls close at 8 o'clock tonight. But remember, for the first time ever in Oregon's history, there's a new law that makes the deadline to mail in ballots Election Day. So for the first time, the deadline was today. Ballots just had to be postmarked by today. And that means final results could take days, if not up to a week, say election officials. So we will keep watching and we'll keep you posted.